Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 15 of What If Naruto Was a Hope of the Uchiha clan. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new series over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto Became the Next Avatar, and enjoy that guys. And also, I post a brand new episode over on Anime King 3 of What If Naruto had the ultimate nature bloodline, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy guys. And remember, for anyone this is the first time you hear my voice, yes, I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King 2, and King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me. For new, I'll be replying talking about all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Tobirama stood in front of the army of Kaguya's. It was rather shocking, they never expected this. The daimyo's uncle had his supporters behind the Kaguya members. Facing a couple of Kaguyas was bad, but facing an army like this was terrible. As Tobirama stood there, but still, he was not going to be backing down. As he brought up the water, but yet there was a man, clear eyes, and also white hair that stood in front of the group, that released a pulse of chocolate that blew it away. It was the first time Tobirama was seeing someone like this. The battle started, that battle was chaotic, until Madara and the others arrived. Arya Namikaze was on her bird. Madara watched as she got hit down by this strange member. He threw his gunblade that pinned her to a tree, better than being crushed to death, as Madara was pissed as he dropped down like a bomb. Hundreds were slaughtered. Madara moved in and him and Tobirama. This strange person was able to nullify the points in her body. As Madara saw it, Tobirama forced his chakra out though and broke open those points back as the battle reigned. The battle was intense as they clashed against this man. He was powerful, incredibly so. But Tobirama and Madara, working together, they were able to put him down. The Kaguyas did not give up. They had tried to incinerate them, but they exploded. All of them exploded. When the battle was over, great losses fell upon the troops. Ken had jumped in the way to block the attack, and he was turned into dust. He had saved Madara as he jumped in the path. As Madara looked toward his valiant soldiers, Tobirama passed out. The last thing he saw was 5 members that looked exactly like that one before, clear eyes, white hair, that were watching them before they headed off into the bushes. Flashback to 2 weeks earlier, Mito, Uzumaki, and the Uzumakis were celebrating as Nagato, her brother, had reclaimed one of their territory. They were being attacked, and these people didn't want any lands or anything, they just want to butcher them. Her father was a rather stern man, who was angry all the time at her. Now he was even more angry because she had given the order to flee and her other brother had died. And her father never forgave her for that, no matter what happened. They needed help though. She heard about the Dragon King, as she was gonna go there to ask for his aid, because that was the only way. If not, they would all die. Her father didn't believe that it would work, but he gave the permission to go, as she set off with few of her clansmen. We then skipped Naruto, as he was with Tsunade. He told her that he had something to tell her tonight, as it was a wonderful oasis, as the both of them were inside. He sat down with her as she saw how nervous he was. She waited as she gave him time. When she heard, as Naruto told her, he had told her about his 2 children. She was angry, she was livid. He built this trust on a false hope. If the others find out about this, it would be chaotic. He begged her not to tell anyone, as she couldn't just reveal it yet. She did not fault. Shizuka or his children. He was glad for that. But she couldn't see him at this moment, as she had to make her way off. It wouldn't look suspicious if they parted ways for now, because it wasn't wise in the first place to have the king and queen one place together. But this, it hurt her, as she had revealed everything to him. She had fully trusted him and kept this away from her. She could not understand in the first part, but now he based it on the alliance, and she went away and left. So yeah guys, so basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the play sector for yourself so to see this new episode. By the time Naruto and his friends enter the command tent, it was mid-afternoon. However, they weren't surprised to see the few that were there. Hoshirama, Neri, Shin, Aberami, and the fox was there as well. But others were there. A red-haired woman, Naruto saw her waiting for him. She was older than him, perhaps around Hoshirama's age. Her stark blue eyes were staring at him intensely. Her skin was rather fair. Her posture showed pride, surprise, respect, fear, desperation, and nervousness. The same could be said about the other redheads, including a small 9-year-old girl, standing around the redhead in a rather protective manner. Before he could even speak, something passed him in a blur. It was Natty. He was surprised as she enveloped the woman in a hug. Confused, he looked toward his supporters as he turned towards Hoshirama, who gave a sharp bow to him. This is Mito Uzumaki, my king, daughter of Lord Ayato Uzumaki, heiress of the nation of Uza. Hoshirama introduced. Naruto was not in a good mood right now. Due to his spat with Tsunade, he was unsure what she would do, and meeting Uzumaki was not under his agenda. Certainly, when the stubborn redheads had ignored his proposal to join the Ninja Kingdom, he had even offered them quite a few lands in the Land of Lightning once it was secure, and proposed them to lead Uza. But ultimately, they would answer to him, and they had ignored that offer. They continued with their hatred towards Uchiha. King Naruto, Mito greeted respectfully. What business does the Uzumaki heiress have here? If I remember correctly, I sent your people an offer to join the new world. Your father spat at my offer, he said. Naruto was really not in a good mood, and Mito Uzumaki was gonna bear it because of her really bad timing. She flinched at his harsh tone, but Tsunade turned and glared towards him. You will speak to her respectfully, my king. If we are all guilty for the crimes of our fathers, then we should all be executed, Tsunade warned. Nearly everyone in the tent flinched at the rebuke. Hoshirama was confused by Tsunade, tone towards her husband. Something had changed. He could feel it, unrestrained anger, hurt and pain burning in her heart. He didn't know what happened, but he had to intervene. My king, my grandmother was a Uzumaki. The Senjus shared ties of blood with their clan. So, do the Uchihas, due to your common ancestors, said Hoshirama. We are all kin, Uchiha and Uzumaki. Naruto's eyes turned towards the small girl that spoke. As Naruto stepped forward and knelt before the girl. What's your name, he said. Kushina Uzumaki, she said. Daughter of Nagato Uzumaki, heiress of Uza, she introduced herself. Do you know who I am, Naruto asked. The Dragon King. They said that you ride upon a giant fox, she said gleefully. As she looked towards the fox in the corner that was sleeping, he snorted, much to everyone's shock, at the blatant insult of the fox towards Naruto. Yes, I do ride upon the lazy fox, said Naruto, once he get his lazy ass off the ground. As Krama growled at him, Kushina laughed, as she pointed a finger towards the grumbling Miju. He's cute. I am the Kyuubi, stupid brat. I am not cute, Krama said. And fluffy, said Kushina, as she was rather brave, standing up to the fox. I am not fluffy, Krama said in disbelief, as he was getting all riled up. Oh, shut up, said Naruto, getting riled up by a little girl. You're getting soft. As the fox grumbled and cursed, before it went to sulking back in the corner, Naruto's anger had faded away, thanks to the interesting child in front of him. She was a fierce one. Not many would irritate Krama like this. He glanced towards Tsunade. Her face was blank as she looked towards the two of them. Kushina spoke up once again. My people are dying, she said. We need help. There was worry and fear in her eyes, as Naruto looked towards Mito. Mito turned towards her guards, as she gave them a nod. Kushina tried to protest as they were being escorted out, her and her clansmen, but one glance from Mito, as she went silent. What does she mean, said Naruto. Nearly 6 months ago, our patrols across the sea spotted ships. While they did not cross into our lands, these unknown parties stayed near the border longer than any merchant vessel ever did. We know for a fact that the mountain clans from the Land of Lightning do not have any kind of fleet, so we believe that they were a new nation trying to probe our defenses Not taking the threat lightly, my father called for additional aid from the Fire Daimyo, who proposed not just his forces, but those of the Senjus and Uchihas. Well, that went well for him, said Naruto sarcastically, as Mito grimaced. Remember that this young boy had started a coup. It still surprised her that someone like Hoshirama would do something like that as well. But then again, he was a shinobi. Treachery was not something new to a shinobi. It was only after news of Daimyo's defeat reached us did we come under attack. Old patrols started to disappear. We only realized the true threat when one of our 7 islands went quiet. My father called our armies and ordered an investigation. And when we reached there, as Naruto watched as she faltered, he felt like he wasn't going to like what she said. As he saw Kurama had the eye open, looking towards Uzumaki. What did you find there? Asked Tsunade gently. Tsunade had befriended Mito, Naito, and your brother, Nahiru, after visiting Uzu when she was a child. The whole island was gone. Not a single soul was there. It was like they all just vanished. There were no bodies, only rivers of blood. A massacre happened there, but there was no evidence of our army for us to investigate any further. We soon realized we had made a mistake by taking our entire forces to one place. In the next 3 days we got news that 3 more of our islands were attacked. We had rushed towards your place hastily, but when we got there, it was the same, nothing. Who did this? Hoshirama asked fiercely. He might have done his allies injustice by not rushing to their aid immediately, but if this was what was going on, they needed help. Realizing the gravity of the threat, my father ordered the forces to defend the capital and the 2 remaining islands. It was not long we encountered our enemy, and we knew what happened to our people. They all came back. But you said that you were all massacred, said Shinaberme. As a haunted look came on Mito's face. I never said that they came back alive. Naruto stiffened. Memories of his dark dream came haunted back in his heart. The tent erupted as people wanted to know what the hell was going on. Accusations, lies. People think that she was lying. But everyone was silent as Kurama got to his feet as he walked towards Mito. Mito gulped on seeing the smaller form of the strongest beast in the world, so close to her. This beast was capable of destroying entire nations, and right now it was looking at her intensely. Explain everything, Kurama said, much to everyone's surprise. It was our own people who attacked us, but they were not our people anymore. They never spoke, they never listened. As we plead for them to stop this madness, they attack our soldiers like animals. They did not care if they were struck down. Even when our ninjas severed their organs, they kept on coming. We soon realized those men and women, even children, they were already dead. It was like their dead bodies were being controlled like puppets from someone in the shadows. Could they be fighters from Land of Wind? Their people are well versed in the art of puppetry. Itachi suggested, maybe, but no puppet master can control thousands of corpses. Said Kagami. Lady Mito, did your fighters ever see the one behind this madness? Shisui asked. Not up close, but we did see a few shadows at the back of those people, and they were also these strange, pale people. They were almost as white as snow. They just stood there, waiting and watching. We lost both of our islands, and we had to retreat to Uzu. My brother Nahiru was killed when the last island was lost, she said sadly. Tsunade's eyes widened. Without hesitation, her hand reached out to clasp Mito's. Mito gave her a thankful smile. As she turned her head towards the king and the fox, they looked pale. Even the fox looked worried, and that did not reassure Mito in the slightest. Did you see any banners? Kurama asked. His voice sounded hesitant. Yes, my brother Nahiru reported one before he was killed. He said he saw a banner of a tree with 10 large branches, but never before has a banner like that been seen anywhere before. Naruto was alarmed as Kurama roared. He roared so furiously, it almost caused a minor earthquake. Others scrambled away as Naruto walked towards him. He knelt towards the fox and placed a hand on his neck. The connection was established, and allowed them to talk to each other without any words. Tell me, said Naruto, as he saw despair and fear in Kurama's eyes. That banner only belonged to one person, Kurama said. Who? Said Naruto. Kaguya Osusuke. Naruto's heart skipped a beat on hearing the name of that dreaded woman be mentioned again. He remembered Kurama telling him of the war for Dawn, and that Kaguya nearly destroyed the world if she was not stopped by her 2 sons. You said that she was defeated. She's dead, said Naruto. Thousands of years has passed since Kaguya fall, and while some of her supporters still exist, he doubted they could do something like this. I know, but it does not change the fact that someone has raised our banner again. The reason I was tasked by the sage to watch over the Uchihas was the fact that the 3rd tainted son of Kaguya corrupted your ancestor Inja, and corrupted him. He nearly revived the Jubi to bring back Kaguya, trapped soul. While we managed to stop Inja from creating another disaster, the sage entrusted me to watch over the Uchihas to make sure this calamity never fall on any one of them ever again, and if it does, they were to be stopped by any means. That is why I was given the task to watch over them, while my brothers and sisters were spread across the world to maintain peace. How grave is this threat? I cannot fight a war on 3 fronts. My forces are already spread thin. If I send aid to Uzzah, I only further weaken my army. I cannot take this risk certainly now. That Snazzy knew the truth about Shizuka. You told her? Said Kurama. Kurama sighed. This couldn't have happened at a worse time. It might destroy the alliance that they have worked for so painfully. But it was done, and they couldn't go back. The truth, Kurama said. You need to send aid to Uzzah and investigate the truth. The Uzumaki is a strong and legion clan. Help them in their weak hour, and you will gain an alliance. If these are truly Kaguya supporters, it is not possible for us to defend Uzzah without great losses. I suggest you get many of them to safety before the islands are overrun. This could all be a ploy, Kurama. We're talking about a woman that has been dead for 1,000 years. As Kurama looked back at Naruto. It is up to you, King Naruto, he said. That was the last thing Kurama said. Mito came forward as she bent a knee in front of Naruto. The gesture was shocking. The Uzumakis was a proud clan, and for their heirs to bend their knee, that meant Ayato must be desperate, and would even swear loyalty to Naruto. You have every reason to deny my people any help, King Naruto. My ancestors have not been kind or cordial to the Uchihas, and for that, I ask for your forgiveness. But my people are dying by the thousands. One of my brothers are already dead, and more will follow. My father has agreed to swear fealty to you, and accept you as our king. He only gave me one message sent to you. Uzzah, call for aid, she said. Everyone looked towards Naruto to see what he would say. His word would be the final thing to decide it. To decide the fate of the Uzumakis, because without them, they would definitely fall. But Naruto was already fighting a war on 2 fronts, and his enemies outnumber his forces. The bitter fact was he had no troops to spare, even if he wanted to, and the fact that Tsunade knew his darkest secret, and his allies might turn on him if they found out about deception. In front of his eyes, everything was falling apart. The words then struck him. 3 choices that will change the world. Shizuka prophecy. She told him that he will make 3 choices that will change his world. He made his first choice in the end a never-ending war, and brought peace after 1,000 of years. What consequences will the second one now have? Nero watched him as he took a breath. He then opened his eyes. And the land of fire shall answer, he said. Stunned silence prevailed across the tent. As everyone heard that, Kurama smiled in relief. Muster the King Guard force. By even. Same go for the naval fleet. I want as many ninjas and soldiers you can summon. I will lead them personally to Uzzah, said Naruto. My king, I am glad to hear that you will lead our forces to aid Uzzah. But you do not need to burden yourself with this. I can lead the forces while you lead our army to victory against Samurai Nation, suggested Hoshirama, but Naruto shook his head. No, Lord Senju. What kind of king would I be if I let others defend my people? You shall maintain command over 15,000 of our warriors, and with the help of the fox you shall defeat the Samurai Nation. That's the prize. The Senju and the Biju. What? Said Kurama. If my army lose here, it will all be for nothing. Help them defeat the Samurai Nation while I aid the Uzumakis. We will repel the invaders by combining my 7,000 troops with the Uzumaki fighters. If all that fails, I will use the ships to rescue as many Uzumaki as I can and bring them to my own nation. His words were final. There could be no protest, no room for argue from anyone, including Kurama. A part of Kurama wanted nothing more than to go with Naruto, but he knew that he needed to defeat the Samurai Nation, because if he lost here, Naruto forces would be in disarray, and everything will be for nothing. If this threat was truly what Kurama thought it was important more and now to unite every fighter in the world. The only way to do that was to push with haste until everyone saw the true threat in front of their eyes. But if they wait for it to happen, it will be too late. Shisui and the other clan members went out to carry out Naruto commands, as Naruto instructed for Shinaberme to accompany him to Uzzah, along with 3 civilian generals, and including Inuma Senju and Neri Uchiha as well. Mito watched in stunned silence as everyone went to obey the king. She would have liked if he had brought his forces and the Biju, but she knew that was not possible. Even so, him himself was coming, and she was grateful. Surprisingly, Tsunade was ordered to stay back, much to her shock. As she approached him, "Why?" she said. "I made a mistake and I'm sorry for that. But you know I only had the best intentions for everyone in my heart," he said. "When I made that choice, you choose to want some space, and I'm only following your request," he said. "But She stopped as she noticed the sadness and disappointment in his eyes. Despite all that has happened, she could not let him go like that. Not alone. You cannot make every decision in this marriage, Navi. His words hurt, and she fought back a grimace. As he walked away, time skip Naruto watched as his elite marched in the thousands to bring them to Uzu to face off against the unknown enemy. Mito Uzumaki and all of her clansmen, except for Kushina Uzumaki, will be accompanying him back to the land. Kushina had tried to protest, but Mito ordered her to stay here. Tsunade will be watching over her personally. Both women knew if all went to hell, at least one of the heirs would survive. As Naruto gave a respectful nod to Kurama and Hoshiarama, who gave him a nod back, as they gave him that promising nod that they will win against samurais. His eyes then fell upon his wife, who was holding Kushina. There was many things that he wanted to say to Tsunade, but a wall had developed between them, and they need to learn to accept that. With the new changes in their life, this new campaign might give them the opportunity. The three-headed dragon's banner was unfurled across every ship. As Naruto looked forward, he had a bad, twisting feeling in his gut. Neri placed a hand on his shoulder, knowing that she was coming with him, and his friends gave him hope. Time skip. She walked through a field of crimson. As she walked, she saw a castle in the far distance, with a flag of a three-headed dragon. As she saw there was a statue, there was a man, made from the finest material. The statue was well crafted. It was blessed to remain immortal. Even as the world passed by, the statue will forever stand here. As she saw someone else was there. There was a boy. He looked exactly like the statue, except he had bright blonde hair and hazel eyes. There was two young women beside him, both of them beautiful, their skin as pale as the moon. Their hair, the darkest shade of black. Their eyes, on the other hand, looked just like the statue that they were looking at. They had the exact same eyes. Tears were in the eyes of the girls. The boy had a crown in his head, as he had a sad look on his face. Beautiful, isn't it? She blinked as she saw someone step beside her. Tsunade saw a replica of her elder brother. But while Hoshiarama had dark hair, this man had light brown hair, and his smile was so kind. What is this? Said Tsunade. The fate of man, one passed on more prominently with the dragon blood, he said sadly, as his eyes became even more sadder. Who are you? She asked. A passenger of time, someone doomed to witness glory, death, until a true successor come, one that shall relieve me of this suffering, the man said. Tsunade glanced towards the boy with blonde hair. The man beside her was doing the same. She watches the man step forward. The two girls and the blonde-haired boy vanished like they were never there. The man reached out and touched the face of the statue. His eyes became moist. A great darkness approached this world, my daughter. A time of despair and suffering is coming to this world. One that fate shall decide. Yet I see the dragon roar one last time in this world, before they fade forever. I'm dreaming, said Tsunade. The man gave her a faint nod. Long ago, a mistake was made that tore our family apart. But there's still hope. If mankind is to survive this coming darkness, it must unite together. It must rally behind the one that shall lead them through this darkness. But yet, I see his end. He shall die, just like the ones before him. And when he does, all hope shall be lost. He will come to death, saving the world from a true destruction. But he will fail before giving a true peace. I don't understand, said Tsunade. Save him, my daughter, before it's too late. Because if you do not, the world won't be ruled by a king. It will be ruled by a... Tsunade paused as the man vanished. The sky got consumed by a darkness that she's never seen before. The earth quaked. It cracked, it split. Death and destruction was all around her as she heard the screams of the deaf. Tsunade jumped up. Cold sweat was all over her face as she searched for her husband who was always by her side. But tonight, he was not. In his place was a small child that was snuggled up against her, giving out small snores every now and then. She reached out as she caressed Kushina's face. As some of her terror faded away, Tsunade gave with a sigh. She wiped the sweat away, as she could remember the dream that she just witnessed. It had only been 3 days since Naruto left with this man to save Uzu, but yet it felt like a lifetime. Her dreams were getting more vivid and darker as she started to feel despair. I'm sorry, Tsunade. She fought by the tears as she heard his sorrowful voice whisper in her ear. He had made a mistake, but he had good intentions. He was young, and he was trying to protect everyone. The fact that he went to help the Uzumaki even when they once spat in his face showed what kind of man that he was. He had trusted her to share his most dangerous and biggest secret with her, and she had accused him, humiliated him, and left him alone in his time of need. She cursed her impulsiveness that led her astray many times, despite the insults that Uzumaki has thrown towards him. And the request denies. He had been so kind to Kushina. The kindness and warmth, they were there in his eyes. If he was so perfect in bonding and caring for a child that he just met. Tsunade understood. She now understood the amount of love that he must have for his unborn daughters. That he is willing to go against the entire world, including his family for them. It was not the action that a king would take, but it was the action befitting of a man. She remembered those 3 kids in her dreams. Those girls that she saw. They were his daughters. And the boy. Her son. A child that will never be born if he did not return from Uza. She should have been out there with him. But all for a stupid argument. He was going to face the enemy that brought someone like Uza to their knees. Guilt was filling her heart. All she could do was calm herself and say that she would never abandon him ever again. Morning came as Tsunade emerged from her tent, as she saw the army in a frenzy. Ninjas, civilians were running across. She wanted to send Kushina to safety, but knowing the stubborn child, she would only find a way to go off and sneak into action, so it was better if she kept her by her side. She had promised Mito that she would protect her niece. The enemy, they're here. As she glanced, it was Kushina that said that. The child was a censor. How many? Asked Tsunade. Thousands, Kushina said nervously. She grabbed a nearby horse and mounted on top of it. She extended her arm and pulled Kushina up. As they rode through the camp, most of the fighters already armed as they stood behind Hoshirama and the fox. She stepped beside her brother and saw him staring at the tall hills. It is time, Hoshirama said. What do you want me to do? She asked. As her brother looked towards her, the fox insists that we need to preserve our army. The king already. To the best fighters with him, half of our force are ninja, but the rest of them are civilians. And while I don't doubt their bravery or skill, we are going up against 40,000 samurais, Hoshirama said. As Tsunade nodded grimly. Civilian soldiers going up against that number was madness. The samurais had the courage and discipline to fight until they were the last man standing. They would not give up until they got what they wanted. The Uzumakis had weakened their army by calling for aid in this desperate hour, but there was nothing that could be done about it now. She felt a hand being placed on her shoulder as Hoshirama gave her a comforting smile. She remembered the stranger that she saw in her dreams. Her brother reminded her of that man. Leave it to me, he said. If it was anyone else that said those words, she would have likely not believed them, but this was Hoshirama, the strongest Senju that was born in so many years. You're the queen of these men and women. Keep them in command and maintain calmness. I know Hoshirama shall handle the situation, Kurama said. Just the two of you, Foxy? Kushina asked. As Kurama eyebrow twitched at that, I'm the 9-kill demon fox, stupid brat. I can handle these weakened samurais. Before any further bickering could continue, Hoshirama stepped forward. Wood style. 1,000 suns. Everyone was shocked, including Kurama, as 1,000 identical clones of Hoshirama rose up, each of them dressed in armor with their blades. Why need the army when we got Hoshirama? Thought Tsunade proudly. Kurama watched Tsunade summon her own. Slug summoned and started to organize the 15,000 strong. Hoshirama stepped forward in front of his army, ready to face the enemies. The marching sound of the clone army boosts the morale of their armies. As Kurama looked towards Hoshirama, Ashura, even after all this time, you have not abandoned your descendants. With a smile on his lips, he moved forward. Hoshirama smiled. As Kurama smiled back, together they climbed the hill, seeing the approach to the enemy for the first time. Hoshirama saw thousands of samurais marching in complete discipline. On their right was a mighty cavalry, at least 12,000 strong. On their left marched at least 24 war elephant. In the middle marched thousands of swordsmen, archers, followed by many reserve enemy. At the back, the sight was one to be at whole, with the amount of forces that they were marching with, in complete discipline, as they marched together as one unit strong. Leading his samurai cavalry was a man with a scar on his face. He was dressed in the finest armor, as he was a samurai leader, Mifune. In front of the army, though, was a man on top of a giant salamander. It was Hanzo. Both armies stopped a few thousand feet away from each other, as Hoshirama's force made a shield wall. As him and Kurama stepped forward, should we give them a chance to surrender? Hoshirama asked. Kurama rolled his eyes. These warriors didn't march all the way here to surrender, Senju. If they want to fight, we give them one. A remorse look came on Hoshirama's face. I just don't want them to die needlessly, he said. Kurama snorted. Whoever said that peace can be achieved without bloodshed is a lunatic, or at least don't know humans. Your kind only understand and boast of two things: power and desperation. Even so, I would like to end this before too much blood is spilled. More importantly though, none get past us. As Kurama couldn't understand Hoshirama, everyone would see that the samurais weren't here to war, but still, if Kurama feared the problem and destruction that was gonna come by the rise of the people he think that was attacking Uso, they would need the samurais. Kurama started to charge a Bijou bomb. As the army noticed that, charge! All the 12,000 rushed forward in Mifune, and all the war elephants charged straight towards Kurama as Hanzo raised his hand and swiftly brought it down. The sun itself was being blocked out as thousands of arrows were launched. The clone army raised their shield upwards as Hoshirama flashed through hand sign, wood style, barrage. As he raised his hand and released thousands of wooden shrapnels that launched from his palm that clashed away with the arrows. Kurama then launched his Bijou bomb towards the war elephants. The land was dwarfed in the explosion that blinded everyone for a moment. By the time they regained their vision, the entire elephant forces were gone. They were vaporized to dust. Despite that, the samurai stood tall. They were undeterred, brave, but rather stupid. With a furious roar, Kurama shot forward as Hoshirama made his way toward Hanzo with his army behind him. Despite what he just witnessed, Hanzo was moving forward right on top of his salamander. The salamander opened his mouth as he released a wave of dark purple smoke. Hoshirama had a good knowledge of poisons as he quickly flashed through hand sign, wood style, flower pores. Hundreds of flowers rose from the ground as he released a pollen in the air. Hanzo grimaced as he watched his poison be consumed. The enemies watched speechless as Kurama teared through thousands in seconds as he moved straight towards their leader, Mifune. Mifune, Hanzo said, but he was too late as Kurama grabbed him with one of his tails. The samurai warriors roar as they release all their fury. Kurama slammed his tails down as he found himself getting cut by thousands of small blades, not to mention hundreds of explosives that were being hit all over his body. A small force of samurais broke arm as they made their way straight towards the left flank of Hoshirama clone army. Hoshirama grimaced as a good hundreds of his clones were crushed under the war horses. Once again, the sun was blocked as he then saw thousands of samurais falling. He looked back as he saw his sister disobey his command, and the archers had released their arrows. That was 15,000 fighters launching kunais, arrows, explosive tags, shurikens, as Tsunade gave the command, charge! Ketsu lead the dragon army with Tsunade right on top of it. Tetsuya spewed acid that hit the front lines of the army. As their line broke, their armor only intensified the heat and the pain that they were feeling. A second line of fighters straight at shield wall, with Hanzo and his beast at the front. She saw the salamander cheeks puff. He was about to release another poison gas. Katsuya was still gathering her volley of poison, which left them wide open. Hoshirama's eyes widened as he saw his sister leap straight towards Hanzo with her fist coated in chakra. The salamander opened his mouth right towards her, as she got soaked in the poison. That was enough to kill a horde of elephants. Hanzo waited for her to fall, but to his surprise she broke right through the smoke and smashed her fist right into his jaw. Everyone was stunned as they watched Hanzo was sent sailing. Tsunade wasn't done there though, as she raised both of her fists and dropped it right on top of Salamander's head. The beast roared in agony before poofing away. Tsunade landed on the ground and she coughed up blood, feeling the poison take effect. Before she could release the power of the seal, she felt a confident aura spread across her body as she looked up to see her elder brother looking at her, worry over his face, but also pride. She could feel the poison being destroyed in her body, and just in time as their army rallied behind them. But despite all the death and destruction, the samurais were willing to fight, down to the last man. They would not stop. Thousands were already dead and more would follow if this was not ended. Do it, brother, said Tsunade. Hoshirama grimly nodded as he stepped forward. The samurais took a step back. For all their bravery, they knew that they could not stand against him. He was too powerful. As Hanzo felt the power, that was half the Bijou bomb. That amount of chakra was being gathered. Wood style. Deep wooded forest. Kurama stopped as he saw the entire land trembling. Hoshirama's hands were tightly locked together as he roared. Hundreds of trees burst from the earth. The fighters tried to run or dodge, but they could not. One by one they were all captured in the trees. Even the horses were not spared. Within 2 minutes all of them were trapped. Hoshirama came to a stop as he panted. He had already used up a large chakra creating his wooden army, and this jutsu was new to him. But seeing that the fighting came to a stop made this small amount of fatigue worth it. Tsunade approached the trapped Hanzo as Krama lowered the unconscious Mifune towards the enemy leader. Surrender or die, said Tsunade. The samurais rather die than let our own culture be destroyed by foreign invaders, Hanzo said. Then keep your culture and keep on ruling your land. But you will become a part of a ninja kingdom and be loyal to the Dragon King and his descendants. Help him create order through these worn-torn places, said Tsunade. Shinobis only know war. Your kind will never change, one of the samurai shouted. If that was true, then we wouldn't have been offering you this choice. We have the power to take what we want, but King Naruto wants to unite the people in the elemental nation. He does not want to destroy your culture and nature. He simply wants you to join the New World Order. We can kill all your people here today and take your defenseless lands easily, but I don't want to do that. Bang the and your people live, and your nation survives. Hanzo looked towards Tsunade and then back at his trapped men. Or they could feel the trees sapping away their life force. The more they struggled, the weaker they got. He had heard rumors about Hoshirama's power, and now he knew they were all true. And not to mention the beasts that Hanzo had no idea how to defeat. If this was just a part of the kingdom's army, he could only imagine if the king came back with Madara Uchiha and the rest of his armies. They would all be slaughtered. What do you want from us, Hanzo asked in a defeated tone. The daimyos you serve must be overthrown. The king wants the samurais to become a large nation, where you or Mifune can rule those lands. You will have full jurisdiction over those lands, but answer to any laws placed by the king. The land of light, however, shall be annexed by us, she said. What happened to the mountain clans from those lands? I thought they would join you in opposing us, Hoshirama said. A grimaced look came on Hanzo's face. We sent word to them, but they never replied back. I even sent a few of my people there, but they never came back. For quite a few months there have been no movement from those places, said Hanzo. A troubled look came across Grandma's face. The Land of Lightning was host to some of the most dangerous ninja clan in the high mountains. They were beyond fierce, so for them to just go silent like this, when there was an army marching towards their home, something must have happened, something bad. Hoshirama released Hanzo and the people. There was a moment of hesitation before Hanzo kneeled. His people then started to follow as well. They were not happy, but they had no choice. It was either this or die a pointless death, as they knew what was the wisest choice. Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief. Samurais were known for their honesty and loyalty. If they gave their word, they kept it to death. She had been feeling miserable ever since he left for Uzo, but playing a part in helping him with the army made her feel a little bit better. But she didn't know what to do after this now. Know that they'd given up. But Hoshirama had a plan. Hanzo, your forces shall join up with us. Together, combined, we shall find out the reason why the mountain clans have gone so silent. Time skip. As Naruto looked toward the vast ocean, the water was so dark he could barely see underneath it. The sun was gone. Since sailing towards Uzo, it had not shown itself, hidden behind the clouds. The closer they were the air was getting more cold and colder. He could feel it in the air. Death. The ninjas under his command was getting restless, as they could all feel a change. The earth itself was getting consumed in this darkness. It was growing stronger and stronger in each passing moment. The only thing that keeping them in command was Shisui, present command over the army, and their king standing there as well. But Naruto couldn't blame them, because he wondered, had he doomed this man? Something was wrong. The feeling was, my king. As Mito stepped beside him, it was like she felt what was going on. She offered him a comforted smile. I understand how you feel, she said. The world is changing now, and I can't blame you or your man for having doubts or second guessing his thought. It is true I am apprehensive, but this threat is something entirely different than what my people has faced so far. If they're coming for the Uzumaki, then they might come for my people someday as well. It is in everyone's best interest if they are stopped right here, said Naruto. As Mito smiled at that, you are wiser than your age, she praised. He simply smiled sadly though. If only that was true, Lady Mito, he said. Members of his fight with Tsunade came back to hunt him. She was out there, and she would go up against the Samurai Nation. Granted, she had Hoshirama and Kurama and 15,000 fighters. He knew that she may have overreacted, but she was just scared for the future. If the people did not take his secret very well, that was not taking the fact that he didn't know how Shizuka or his unborn children were doing. He had promised her that he would visit her, and yet he had failed to keep his word as he caught up in the affairs of the world. What kind of king lying to his own family and people? What kind of king left his loved ones to fight for someone else. Saving the Uzumakis may be the honorable and right choice, but he still felt. He felt troubling. The guilt was eating my life. What more can you tell me about this enemy, he said, trying to keep his mind away from the guilt. As her face darkened, apart from the fact that they are all dead, that came back to life, they can be killed if they are beheaded or burned. Anything less, even stabbing them 3 to the heart, would not do anything. They will attack you over and over again. They feel no pain or fear. They want nothing, except for the desire to slaughter. Their bodies are deformed, their eyes dark and demonic. We call them the Undying or the Legend, because they are endless, said Mito. She saw something flash across his eyes, a realization. What is it, she asked. The ancestors of my time commanded us to burn our dead. It is a tradition, follow. From the time of Inja, and even the mightiest Uchihas had never disobeyed this. Our elders say that burning the dead take the souls of the fallen to our fathers. But now I wonder if there was a deeper meaning behind it. Now that I remember it, Uchihas are one of the very few that burn their dead, said Mito in surprise. The unsettling feeling was still there in his heart. Something was going on. Something ancient. And it terrified him. He didn't know why. He couldn't shake this feeling that he was leading his people into nothing but death. My king, I can't express in words how much your help means to me and my people. In this time of despair, if there's anything that you ever need from me, I would be glad to offer you that, she said. As Naruto gulped as her mesmerizing eyes stared back at him. She was a rather beautiful woman. Even if she was older than him, the aura that was coming off of her was rather pleasant. Unlike him, the Uzumakis were actual royalties. The lineage, the royal, the wealth to back it up. While Naruto could only be considered as a king of peasant, in comparison to the Uzumakis, he can never forget how Tsunade had hurt him with her words. It fueled the deep-seated anger inside of him. She had broken his trust, accusing him of being selfish, when he was only trying to protect his daughters. As his hand was already going up to caress Mito's cheek, the fact that he was leaning and she was not, moving away from the close proximity. Naruto! As he came to a stop, as Neri arrived on the deck, the disappointment in her eyes were clear to see. Mito was quick to realize the situation and left him with a farewell with his aunt, who was like a mother to him. I raise you better, she said, but there was defiance in his eyes. I don't have to explain myself, he said. He said in a rather cold way. He then regretted those words the moment they came from his mouth, as he saw the hurt on her face. I know that, she said. You are no longer a boy, but a man, a king. You hold a lot of power in your hands, and it is true that you answer to no one but yourself. I do not know what happened to you and your wife, but once trust is broken, it is hard to rebuild. My issues with Tsunade are my business. As far as I'm concerned, it is she who has hurt me, said Naruto. Neri came over and cuffed his cheeks, and this retaliation will be more harsh. Don't be so spiteful as many of our people are. You're a good man, Naruto. Don't succumb to temptation and anger so easily. Our people are looking to you in this dark hour, she said, as she gave him a kiss on the forehead, as he exhaled. For all of his talents, he was just a man. Forgive me. She cut him off. Try to be patient with your wife, she said. Neither you or her are perfect, and you're new to this marriage. Women can forgive and tolerate many things, but never can she forgive her loved ones cheating on her. You are fulfilling your vows as king. Never forget the vows that you made as her husband. I won't, said Naruto. Never again, he promised. Neri smiled at him proudly. Then let us never speak of this again, she said. Time skip. Nagato sat by himself in silence. His father, pushing him together the forces and moved forward, had dealt great loss to their men. He had 12,000 fighters. He lost 4,000. They wouldn't have survived if he hadn't ordered a full retreat back to Hiroshima. Even his father realized the mistake as a boatman. Realized that Mito had been right all along. His father more than him. We cannot hold them anymore, father, said Nagato. I realize that, my son, but even if I want to evacuate the women, the children and the old to safety, I cannot. We do not have the ships anymore. We must make the final stance and die, defend our homeland, said Ayato in a resigned tone. But Nagato gave him a grim smile. I'm glad that you allow my daughter and Mito to go to the mainlands. At least this way, they will live. I'm with you till the end, father, said Nagato, as Ayato smiled proudly. Any moment now the enemy could gather their force and attack. It won't be long. But they were surprised when they heard a war horn being sounded across the entire city, as both of them got up and made their way outside. Mayami Uzumaki, wife of Nagato Uzumaki, was surprised as she saw the dozens of different banners floating towards the land of Uzu. Thousands of them moving towards the gates. The largest was the Uchiha banner. But she also saw the Senjus, Namikaze, Sarutobi, Shimura, Akimichi, and so many others. As she gave the signal to load them in the city, all of her clansmen, all of them, had a look of release on their face as their morale. At least they were getting back some hope. Their broken gases were going away. She never thought any aid would come for her people, and yet here they were. Her eyes widened as she saw a handsome young boy with light brown hair at the head of the army, the crown on his head, and the golden armor. How, she said, as he looked towards her, flanked by the armies behind him. I bring word from your allies in the mainland. The Uzumakis have been our allies since time. Long before, we shared ties of friendship and blood. Our clan, we were born from the same family, and together, we once pledged to safeguard this world, said Naruto. As he looked behind her, he saw two men running towards the gates. Their eyes widened when they saw him. We have come to honor that pledge, said Naruto. King Naruto. As Naruto was taken aback as the man stepped forward and hugged him. Surprised by the gesture, he patted the man on the shoulder as he felt the relief. He could feel all the emotions rolling off the man. He was grateful. It's an honor to have you here, my king, said Nagato with a beaming smile. As Naruto nodded, as Naruto saw the old man, Ayato, step in front of him. It was no doubt him, the man who had refused the offer of allowing them to join. Both warriors stared at each other. Then, Ayato knelt. To the shock of the Uzumakis, he bowed. You have come to the aid of my people despite our troubled past and my mistakes. I ask for forgiveness and humbly submit my people and my nation to your rule, King Naruto, said Ayato. There were many things that Naruto once stated to this man, but he was stopped as Mito burst from the crowd and hugged her brother and her sister-in-law. The sight of that warm reunion kept his tongue, as he gave Ayato a firm nod of acknowledgement. As he saw Naruto look around with a proud smile. We are proud to fight alongside our kinsmen once more, he said. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over in the making 3 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline, and enjoy that. And also I post a brand new series over in the making 2 of What If Naruto Became the Next Avatar. So go ahead and enjoy that, guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys very soon. Peace out.